Well, friends, today I'll be discussing two systems together, nervous system and respiratory system. And I have got my own reasons for doing so. As we progress with the uh, references and contents of this lecture, you will understand why am I doing this. I have been again and again showing you this slide. Vata and Prana, they share a very peculiar relationship. Similarly, Pitta and Agni, they share a similar relationship, and Kapha and Ojas, they also share very similar relationship. In other words, to say, Vata executes all its functions through Prana, Pitta executes all its functions through Agni, and Kapha executes all its functions through Ojas. Now, this understanding is very important when we try understanding the nervous system and the respiratory system. Uh, in the beginning, I told you that the Srotamsi have been classified into two categories, the Sukshma Srotas and Sthula Srotas. Sukshma Srotamsi or Anu Srotamsi, they are very minute and beyond the perceptive ability of our sensory organs. And they also represent the functional and structural units of the human body. Whereas the Sthula Srotamsi or Gross Srotamsi, they are again of two types, Bahya and Abhyantara. Bahya is the external orifices like the oral cavity, anus, uh, nasal cavity, and so on. Whereas the Abhyantara Srutamsi, they are very similar to what we call organ systems in today's language. But again, we need to be very careful while translating one Srotas into one system. One to one correlation is very risky and uh, unwarranted when it comes to Ayurveda. So, what I'll be discussing today is that nervous system, as per Ayurvedic understanding, it comes under two srotamsi. One is pranavaha srotas and another one is majjavaha srotas. Similarly, respiratory system also falls under two srotamsi. One is pranavaha and another one is udakavaha. In my earlier lecture, I told you that gastrointestinal tract covers two srotamsi, annava srotas and purishavaha srotas. So there is overlapping. Similarly, here also two srotamsi, they overlap each other to constitute what is called a particular system. So this kind of understanding becomes essential to understand the application of Ayurvedic concepts. Why do I say that Pranavaha Srutas is also an important component of nervous system? So let us start with the definition of Pranavaha Srutas. Pranavahanam Srutasam Hridayam Moolam Mahasrutascha. So the Moola is heart and the gut. So it is neither lungs nor brain, because many a times pranava srotas is only used in a restrictive fashion to indicate the lungs and respiratory system. And I am going to tell you why this is not a right kind of approach. Now, what is this pranavaha srotas? In this context, what is the meaning of prana is what we need to understand. Then we need to refer the Chakrapani's commentary, where he clarifies that pranavahanam iti pranasamnyaka vatavahanam etaccha pranakhya vishishtasya vayoho vishishtasrotah. So this prana doesn't stand for the maybe Dvadashvidha prana or the prana that we come across with Sadhyo Pranahara Marma, or even the prana that we come across with pranapana, the respiration. So all this is not the meaning of prana that has to be considered in this context. In this context, it specifically stands for pranavayu. And this is a special system or special srotas dedicated for the special subtype of vayu, and this is known as pranavayu. So the term prana has been very specifically used in the context of pranavaha srotas, and uh, the site of or location of pranavayu is murdha, that is head. And in the context of head also, the description of head, uh, it is described that pranaha pranabhritam yatra shvitaha sarvendriyani cha yaduttamangam shiras tadabhidiyate. So this is the definition of shiras, or the head. So head is the body part which is the seat of prana, all the prana, the vital, functionally vital entities, and all the sensory organs, sarvendriyanicha, and uttamangam, it is most superior or most important of all other vital organs. So this is the context in which the the head has been explained. And now coming to the pranavayu, it is also located in murdha, that is head. Prano atra murdhagaha urah kantha charo, it moves, it functions in urus and kantha, the thoracic region and the throat or cervical region. And buddhi hridaya indriya chittadhrik, it also controls the functions such as discretion, a higher intellectual function, cardiac control, hridaya, sensory control, indriya, chitta, again mental abilities. All these are under the control of pranavayu. And sthivana, kshavathu, udgara, nishvasa, anna praveshakrit, the spitting reflex, sneeze reflex, belching, respiration, and deglutition. All these reflexes are under the control of pranavayu. And when we carefully understand these reflexes and these functions, we can clearly understand that all these functions are either of brain or brainstem, because most of these reflexes are integrated in the brainstem, and most of the other higher functions are controlled by the cerebral cortex and some other higher centers in the brain. Now, if pranavahasrutis is more of nervous system, then what is respiratory system? This question crops up, and this needs to be understood very clearly. Pranavahanam srutasam hridayam moolam mahasrutascha pradushtanam tu khalu esham idam vishesha vijnanam bhavati tadyatha atisrishtam atibaddham kupitam alpalpam abhikshnam va sashabdashulam uchvasantam drishtva pranavahanyasya srutamsi pradushtani iti vidyat. So these are the symptoms one develops when the pranavahasrutamsi undergo some pathological status. When they develop some pathology, then these are the symptoms that are manifested. And most of these symptoms are concerned with either rate of respiration or rhythm of respiration or depth of respiration, and also difficulty in breathing. So the rate and depth and rhythm of respiration is under the control of the brain, and difficulty in breathing might be due to the respiratory illness. So the term pranavahasrutas possibly indicates the nervous control of the respiratory system. So both these systems are to be included under pranavahasrutas. Again, nabhistha pranapavanaha sprishtva hritkamlantaram. This verse we have seen this when we discussed the hemopoietic system physiology, and when we discussed how the blood is oxygenated. So through the act of respiration, certain very vital component which is present in the external atmosphere is captured, and this is done through the pranavayu. And this is indicative of gaseous exchange. So pranavahasrutas is something that indicates the nervous system and also the respiratory system. Coming to udakavahasrutas, why udakavahasrutas becomes important in the understanding of respiratory system? Because udakavahanam srutasam talu moolam klomacha pradushtanam tu khalu esham idam vishesha vijnanam bhavati tadyatha jivha talu oshta kantha kloma shosham pipasa cha ati pravruddham drishtva udakavahanyasya srutamsi pradushtani iti vidyat. So these are the symptoms that one develops when the udakavahasrutamsi are not functioning properly, or when there is some pathology in the Udakava Srotas. And we have earlier also seen that kloma indicates puppusa, klomaha, puppusam. This is the direct reference from Todara Malla Tika on Ashtanga Hridaya Nidanasthana. So he says that puppusa and kloma are the terms which can be used interchangeably. And this is again reinforced by the Sushruta's explanation of the location of the heart. Tasyadho vamatah pliha puppusascha dakshinato yakrit klomacha. On the left and inferior side of the heart, there is puppusa and pliha, and similarly on the right side, the corresponding organs are kloma and yakrit. So this is what has been explained. So these symptoms, they are indicative of dryness in the respiratory tract, excessive thirst, and they finally are indicative of water and electrolyte imbalance. So lungs or respiratory tract plays an important role in regulation of the water and electrolyte balance also. So this function of the respiratory system has been probably included under Udakava Srutas, whereas the gaseous exchange and other features or other functions of the lungs are to be included under Pranavaha Srutas. Now there is one more system or one more dhatu called Majja, and the corresponding system is Majjavaha Srutas. So what is to be understood by Majjavaha Srutas? If you go through carefully the Majja Pradosha Vikar, then you get the several symptoms such as Brahmo, Murcha, Darshanam, Tamasas Tatha, the giddiness, transient loss of consciousness, darkness before eyes, and similarly in Majjakshaya Lakshana, Pratatam, Vatarogini, Shide Majjani Dehinam. So in the context of Majjakshaya Lakshana, several neurological diseases have been implicated. So Majjavaha Srotas also plays some important role as far as nervous system functioning is concerned, because Mastulungaha ArdhavilinaGhritakaro Mastaka Majja. This is the explanation given by Dalhana on Sushruta Samhita, Sutrasthana 23rd chapter. And Mastulunga indicates brain, and the consistency of the brain has been said to be equivalent to semi-liquefied ghee, and this is called the Mastakagata Majja. So Majja present in the mastaka or cranial cavity is also indicative of the brain. So now when we search for the symptom kasa, because nowhere in the Soto Dushti Lakshanas of Annavaha, Udakavaha, Pranavaha, or even Dhatuvaha Srutamsi, or even Malavaha Srutamsi, wherever you search for the symptom kasa, which is a very common symptom in respiratory disorders, cough, you don't find it. Then when we search for this, we find it in Kapha Vridhi Lakshana, Shleshma, Agni Sadana, Praseka, Alasya Gauravam, Shvaitya Shaitya Shlathangatvam, Shvasa Kasa Atanidrata. And now similar symptoms will be also found in Rasa Vridhi Lakshana, because Raso Api Shleshmavat. Now this poses a question related to the understanding of the nervous system or respiratory system. Why? So Shwasa and Kasa are very common symptoms of respiratory system disorders, and they are not been explained in any of those Pranavaha Srota Dushti or Udakavaha Srota Dushti, but they are explained under Kapha Vridhi Lakshana. And again, our first slide becomes important in this context. Vata and Prana, Pitta and Agni, Kapha and Oja. These three are again very closely connected with the Pranavaha, Annavaha and Udakavaha Srotams respectively. Because if you go through the enumeration of Srotamsi, you get Pranavaha, Annavaha, Udakavaha, and then you get Dhatuvaha Srutamsi, Rasavaha, Raktavaha, Mamsavaha, and so on. And then Malavaha Srutamsi, even Purishavaha, Svedavaha, even Artavaha, Mutravaha, every Srutas is explained. Now, where are the Doshavaha Srutamsi? Dhatavah Srutamsi and Malavah Srutamsi are there, but where are the Doshavah Srutamsi? Because Doshavah Srutamsi have been mentioned here and there. For example, while explaining the seat of Samana Vayu, it has been explained that Sveda Doshambu Vahini Srutamsi Samadhishtitaha. So Doshavah Srutamsi have been mentioned, but where are they? Actually, this is how we need to understand. The Pranavaha Srutas actually represents the Vatavaha Srutas. Similarly, Annavaha Srutas represents Pittavaha Srutas, and Udakavaha Srutas represents the Kaphavaha Srutas. And if you understand this connection, all things fall into place. All this scattered information falls into place, and it completes the something what was like jigsaw puzzle. Now the entire picture becomes clear. That is why nervous system, according to Ayurvedic principles, it is distributed under Pranavaha Srutas and Majjavaha Srutas. Similarly, respiratory system is also distributed under Pranavaha Srutas and Udakavaha Srutas. Now we will get back to the nervous system. General functions of Vayu, when it is explained, it is said that Utsaho Chwasa Nishwasa Cheshta Vega Pravartanaihi Samyak Gatya cha Dhatunam Aksharanam Patavena cha Anugrannahati Avikrataha. The Utsaha, motivation, Uchvasa, Nishwasa, inspiration and expiration, Cheshta, movements, Vega Pravartanaihi, reflexes, Samyak Gatya cha Dhatunam, the dhatus that move in the body, like blood for example, the movement of the substances within the body, and normal functioning of the sensory organs. Akshanam Patavena cha Anugrannhati Avikrataha. With these functions, the Vayu, when it is normal, it supports the life with these functions. This is the explanation of Vayu. And all these functions, if you carefully observe, they will be of brain and other nervous system structures. Again, Tantra Yantra Dharaha, controller of an instrument with uninterrupted series of functions. This is the meaning of Tantra Yantra Dharaha. Tantra and Yantra. Tantra means uninterrupted series of functions, and Yantra is the instrument. So it is the controller, Dharaha. Vayu is the controller of an instrument with uninterrupted series of functions. So it is indirectly indicative of entire living body. So entire living body is primarily controlled by Vayu. Then Pravartakaha Cheshtanam Uchchavachanam. Pravartaka is initiator. And all the gross and minute movements in the body are initiated because of Vayu. Cheshtanam Uchcha and Avachana. Gross and minute movements. Cheshta is movement. Niyanta, Praneta cha Manasaha. Niyanta is controller or regulator, and Praneta is the guide. So this Vayu is the controller, and also it is the guiding force behind the functioning of mind or Manas. And as we know, the objects of Manas are thinking, analysis, imagination and other things. Chintya, Vicharya, Uhya and so on. So all these are the functions of higher centers in the brain, especially the limbic system, the hypothalamus and higher cerebral cortical areas. So Sarvendriyanam Udyojakaha, initiator of all the sensory functions. Sarvendriyarthanam Abhivodha, all the sensory information is brought towards the understanding entity. Ultimately, the perception occurs in Atma. So Atma is the one that finally perceives the things, but Vayu is the one that connects between these sensory perceptions and it carries them towards the perceptive entity. Right? Sarvendra Arthanam Abhivodha. Sarva Sharira Dhatu Vyuhakaraha. Orderly arrangement of all bodily tissues is again maintained because of the Vayu. So it also is indicative of the integrity of different organs. For example, the muscles, when their innervation is lost or disconnected, they undergo atrophy. So, by some or the other mechanism, the nervous system innervation itself or neural innervation itself maintains the integrity of muscular tissue. This is one example that can be used to understand this explanation. Pravartako vachaha, initiator of the speech. Shrotrasparshanayoho moolam, responsible for hearing and touch. Harshotsahayoho yonihi, responsible for happiness and motivation. Activator of Agni, Samirano Agnehe. So Samirana is again Vayu, but again the meaning of Samirana is to activate. So activator of Agni. So digestive and metabolic factors are activated through Vayu. Kshepta Bahirmalanam. It expels the excretory products. How are the Indriyas or sensory organs and their corresponding Pranavaha Srutamsi are connected in the head? This has been explained in this verse. Shirasi Indriyani Indriya Pranavahani cha Srutamsi Suryamiva Gabhastaya Samshritani. Suryamiva Gabhastaya means sun and the beams of sunlight. Similar to the sun and the beams of sunlight, the sensory organs and the channels which carry the prana are interconnected. So the connections between different organs, sensory organs, and the pranavaha srutamsi. This has been explained in this verse. So pranavaha srutamsi have always been explained to be present in Shiras, and of course this is the pranavayu that controls the pranavaha srutas in Uras also. That is the connection. Now, udanasya punah sthanam nabhyurha kantha evacha vakpravrittihi prayatnorjo balavarnadi karmacha. Now we are getting into the subtypes of vayu after pranavayu. Udanasya punah sthanam nabhi uraha kantha evacha. The umbilicus, thorax and throat. These are the locations of Udana Vayu. Vak pravritti or production of speech is the major function of Udana Vayu. How does it do it? Prayatna, Urja, Bala, Varnadi, Karmacha. So these are the other components through which it primarily functions or performs the function of speech production. And the Varna is indicative of alphabet. There is something called Varna Samamnaya in Sanskrita, and this is indicative of alphabet. Collection of letters or alphabet are called Varna Samamnaya, and this is the meaning of Varna here. It is not color or complexion. Here Varna stands for the alphabet and is indirectly indicative of linguistic functions, because in Ashtanga Hridaya also Urasthanam udanasya nasanabhigalascharit vakpravritti prayatnorja bala varna smriti kriya has been mentioned. Smriti is the ability to recollect. So recollection of the proper words is also essential to form a meaningful sentence. So the linguistic functions, then phonation and also articulation, the efforts, prayatna or urja that is required for production of the speech. All this is included under physiology of speech production under Udana Vayu, the functions of Udana Vayu. And we know that there are 3 steps in speech, production of speech: the respiration, phonation and articulation. Because respiration gives the force, the air when it gets expelled out of the lungs, then only we can produce the speech. When you inhale, you cannot speak. Speech cannot be produced during inspiration. It has to be always during expiration, right? Because sufficient force is required to cause the vibration in the vocal cords. And phonation is actual production of the sound. And articulation is, there are several structures in the respiratory tract and also in the oral cavity, which are to be properly coordinated to produce specific sounds. So Vak Pravritti prayatna, urja, bala, varnadi, karmacha. These are all included under the functions of Udana Vayu. These are the organs of articulation, the palate, lips, teeth, tongue, vocal folds, nasal cavity, uvula, jaw, teeth, all these are essential. And that is how, based on the site of or location of origin of a particular sound, the varnas have been classified into several groups: Talavya, Dantya, Murdhanya, and so on. For instance, Akuha Visarjaniyanam Kantaha, Ichu Yashanam Talu, Ritu Rashanam Murdha, Ritu Lasanam Dantaha, Pu Upadbhaniyanam Oshthavu, न्यमगणनानां नासिका च एदैतोः कंठतालु ओदौतोः कंठोष्ठम वकारस्य दंतोष्ठम जिह्वामूल्यस्य जिह्वामूलम नासिका अनुस्वारस्य. So all this has been explained in Panini's Ashtadhyayi. So scientifically it has been explained, and all this should be understood to be the function of Udana Vayu, this articulation and all the structures involved in the articulation and their coordinated movement. All this is the function of Udana Vayu. Coming to the Vyana Vayu. Deham vyapnoti sarvam tu Vyanah shighra gatirnranam gati prasaranakshepa nimeshadi kriya sada. So it is the one that moves fastest among all types of Vayu and moves all over the body. Shighra gatirnranam. Deham vyapnoti sarvam tu, all over the body. Gati, walking. Prasarana, extension. Akshepa, flexion and extension, both. Nimesha, blinking. These are the functions that are carried out by Vyana Vayu. And if you observe carefully, all these are the voluntary functions. So most of them are the somatic nervous system functions, and they are controlled by this component of Vyana Vayu. But Vyana Vayu also has got some autonomic component. Vyanena rasadhaturhi vikshepochita karmana yugapat sarvato ajasrab dehe vikshipyate sada. So control of circulation is again a primary function of Vyana Vayu, which is under the control of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And about this verse we have already discussed in our lecture on cardiovascular system. So I am not going to delve into the details of this verse. Then Sveda doshambu vahini srotamsa samadhishtitaha antaragnischa parshvastha samano agnibalapradaha. So Samana Vayu, as we have already discussed about it, it is located in Sveda, Dosha and Ambuvaha Srotamsi, and Antaragnischa Parshvastha, it is also located nearer to the Antaragni or Jatharagni. And Samano Agnibala Pradaha, the major function of Samana Vayu is to activate the digestive process. So according to Shangadhara, Samana Vayu is also responsible for bringing the Rasadhatu towards the heart. Rasastu Hridayam Yati Samana Marutertaha. So Samana Vayu is also responsible for the venous return possibly, and it is also responsible for secretomotor functions in the gut, and also it is present in some other locations, like sweating is also controlled by this, and we know that all these functions are controlled by autonomic nervous system. Coming to Apana Vayu, Vrashnau Basti Medhram cha Nabhyuru Vangshanau Gudam Apanasthana mantrastha Shukramutra Shakranticha Srijati Artava Garbhocha. So these are the functions of Apana Vayu. So it is located in lower abdomen and pelvis. It performs the functions like ejaculation, micturition, defecation, menstruation and parturition. And again, if you carefully observe these functions, there is involvement of autonomic nervous system in most of these activities, Maybe menstruation and parturition are the exceptions, which are major uh, functions which are under the control of reproductive hormones. But even then, some role of autonomic nervous system in these functions also has been recorded. Reflexes. The term Vega in Ayurveda stands for reflexes. Vegan na dharayet vata vit mutra kshava trit kshudham nidra kasa shramashvasa jrumbha ashru chad retasam. These are the reflexes that are very natural, and these are called natural reflexes, and Ayurveda advises that these natural reflexes should not be suppressed. So, flatus, defecation reflex, micturition reflex, sneeze reflex, thirst, hunger, sleep, cough, exertional dyspnea, yawning, tears, vomiting, and ejaculation. If you again go through each and every activity, then you will understand that there is some or the other reflex which is involved in carrying out each of these functions. Now, Pakwasha is said to be the major location of Vayu. Pakwasha kati sakthi shrotrasthi sparshanendriyam sthanam vatasya tatrapi pakwadhanam visheshatah. The large intestine has been said to be the major location of Vayu, though it is present in other parts of the body, but major location or major site of Vayu is large intestine. Why is that so? Possibly this is indicative of gut-brain axis. It has been understood now that there is a bidirectional communication between the central and enteric nervous system. So, Samana Vayu, as I told you, that it performs the secretomotor functions in the gut, which are major functions of enteric nervous system. And then the gut-brain axis links the emotional and cognitive centers of the brain with peripheral intestinal functions. This is something very, very interesting insight that the science has recently developed, and possibly this is indicated by the role of gut in the incorporation of therapeutic procedures in Ayurveda. This interaction is through signaling from gut microbiota to brain, and from brain to gut microbiota by means of neural, endocrine, immune, and humoral links. And this axis mediates several peripheral intestinal functions and mechanisms such as immune activation, intestinal permeability, enteric reflex, and enteroendocrine signaling. And all this becomes very important when you understand the interrelationship between gut and Vayu. शरीरजानां दोषाणां क्रमेण परमौषधम वस्तिर्विरेको मनम तथा तैलम घृतम मधु. Again, Vasti is the best treatment for Vataja disorders and administered through the rectal route. Right? So, possibly this is very important because the gut microbiota and their relationship with the nervous system is a recent understanding, but possibly through clinical experiences, Ayurvedic scholars knew something about this connection. So, gut is the therapeutic target, irrespective of the disease in Ayurveda, and this is something very interesting. Even if a person has bronchial asthma, even if a person has rheumatoid arthritis, even if a person has developed a stroke, even if a person has the cardiac illnesses, in every kind of illness, ultimately we give Vasti, Virechana, and Vamana, and we target the gut. And this enteric nervous system and enteroendocrine relationships and the gut brain axis, possibly this is what is being targeted through this therapeutic targeting process.